Yeah.
Okay. Yes, are they?
Yeah.
Man. Oh, that goes the opposite, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because usually, but he this figure of monk in the monk in the drum and the drum solos. I had been, like I say, I had been playing with all these groups, fast, even Maynard, because Flyin Hampton had all these fast arrangements and the Market Jazz and even Don Sebesky, even Willie Maiden had that Back in the Satellite Again.
Right.
On that album we did, Night at Birdland.
Mm-hmm.
And that was fast, way up tempo flying. You couldn't tell me, nobody in the world could come and tell me that, hey, look, my God, after me kicking out that stuff there, man, look, that's the complete end to playing, to be able to get off the stand and to hold that beat that fast.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing in the world. I'm sweating, and when I go to go get with Monk, and Monk had said to me, "Hey, I just you don't want to play fast all the time. You want to solo and play fast." And so I said, "Well." He said, "Oh yeah, all drummers, all of them, all of them that way. They want to fast and soloing and throwing the sticks, and that's when you really play. I mean, that's the hardest in your estimation." I said, "Well, he said, well, it's really hard, to play slow than it is fast." And swing, he says, and create something while you're doing it, playing slow and swinging. I said, and he got me. I think it was the first night.
Yeah.
I went with the first night, not in. This didn't happen now in. As I said before, I opened up the 5 spot.
Okay.
I had come back.
Right.
That's when I rejoined him after I left Lena, and he had heard me with Maynard, because Maynard was in Detroit. We did a jazz festival. Maynard's band was there, and Monk, was listening at me because I had played with him, and he heard me with Maynard. He heard me with Sonny Rollins, Sonny who played, right. How Sonny can go. I'm playing. It's Monk. Gets up on this. Charlie Rouse and John Orr. We're at this is at the new 5 spot now. Mm-hmm. That's the one on Columbia. Right. Around 8th. What is it? 8th Street, isn't it? No. I think no. That's this was when they call. Yeah, it was. He was at the when I went in there with John Orr. And stayed so long with Charlie Rouse, John Orr. It was at the 5 spot on 8th Street. Mm. See, man, Waverly place. Anyhow, he gets up there and first set. He had just finished talking to me in the back about playing. He goes up to the stand and he's got his hat on. The place is mobbed. It's packed. He starts off the tune. Boom, 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 bing, boom, cha-doom, ba-doom, boom, 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 dum, cha-doom, ba-doom, dum, dum, dum. I'm saying, and I'm saying to myself, wait a minute, I don't even know what's. And the bass, John Orr, boom, 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 dun, boom, boom, dun, boom, boom, ding, dun. He said, and I'm and at first time, he's looking around, and he jumps up from the piano now. And he's still keeping the time, and John R. going, and then Charlie Rouse comes in and plays the ensemble, which do, you know, and plays it. Right. And now Monk's not playing; he's just dancing. And Monk, and he dances over to me and says, "Okay, get to the beat and swing it now." And I'm going, cha, cha. And I'm saying, well, I'm wondering if I'm doing it, and I'm. Every beat, I couldn't look out at the audience, and you couldn't look who was coming in the door, or look down at my shirt to see what time it was. It pulled me right, because everything was... I had to swing, and the bass, John R. is a boom, 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 boom. And I'm saying, oh my God. And I'm playing slow. And it's the hardest thing for me. And Monk would dance with me and say, okay, Frankie, come on now. You see your kids, they're going to swing now. You see, shit, I told you, shit, it ain't easy. It ain't easy to swing your jig playing, so I told you that. Shit, come on.
Does it give you a solo?
No, I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm saying to myself, well, I'll just keep the time and get with John R. Says I know I'd never get a solo. And then after that, he went and played his little solo, Monk did, after Charlie. Yeah. And blink, boom, 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 boom. And then after that, he jumps up. Drums got it. You got it. Drum solo. And John R. still playing the bass. Boom, 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 boom. He said, solo, John, Frank is gone. Well, and now, John stops. The tempo's down here. Boom, boom. He says, solo. And then I go, bam. I said, oh my God, what do I do? Look, I had been playing all this, like I said, all this fast stuff with all this, everything's just coming to you. Even if you miss a beat, the people don't know because you drop your stick and you keep on, even if you lose your ideas for a whole two measures, it don't mean nothing because people don't know it. But I'm down here. Monk said, drum solo, let me hear some shit, Frank. He says, don't be bullshitting. Let me hear let's play some shit. I'm going, boom. And I'm saying, boom, boom, boom. Then I go, boom, and then I'm going to do something I can't do because I haven't been into that category. He says, and keep the time on. Here's the tempo. Don't play some shit that you don't know about. And I'm going, boom. So all I could do, because I never knew how to put a paradiddle in there, because I never put a paradiddle in a beat like this. Yeah. And if I put one in there, it couldn't go paradiddle. He says he wants it to make sense. So to go paradiddle. So I can't do that. I can't put a radamacue because a radamacue don't even go into that. A radamacue. I can't do none of my rudiments. So I'm saying, well, shit, this man has put some shit on me that I can't even play. I can't even play my damn rudiments in. So what it is, it's a different approach, a different musical category altogether that I've never attacked. And all these people are looking at me. What am I going to do? I don't want to seem like an ass. You got drummers. You got little Tony Williams. He was sitting out there, sitting there watching me. You got Tootie Heath. All these people, these drummers are in the audience because they had heard maybe me play a little on the gig at the first gig that I had. A couple of the guys that were in there heard, and they said, well, damn, I mean, they knew that I had maybe been with Maynard and been with Duke. They figured I'm coming back with Monk. I'm going to be
wailing, and I'm thinking the same thing when I see these guys. Monk is opening. He's got the whole Randy Weston. All these guys are in the audience watching me.
Yeah.
Vic Jarvis, Clifford Jarvis,
right.
Not Vic Jarvis. I'm thinking that's a guitarist, but all these drummers are there, and Monk put this on me. Boom, doom, doom. And so you know what? It made me feel not only look like an ass, but I played like an ass because of the fact I had never, and it really showed me up to the extent that I was handicapped. But I got through it. It didn't really make that much sense, but I just did what I could do. I kept maybe rolling and fooled around, and he could sense that it had me stumped. Mm-hmm. And he got back on the piano, and when that set was over, he took the cigarette, he lit his cigarette, he said, "Hey Frank," he said, "you got a match?" And I said, "Yeah, Monk." And I went in I wouldn't even, usually when the set is over, I kind of, like drift out in the bars and stuff. Guys, how you doing, man? I was so embarrassed that first set. I went right back with him. He didn't tell me to come with him. I went, we go in the back there. Yeah. We had a little room, and he'd say to me, "Hey, you see, I told you, didn't I tell you, Frank, that it was harder, to play slow and fast? You remember I told you that shit? You dig it? You dig it?" He said. You see, you thought I was going to play all that fast shit, that you was doing out there with Sonny and Maynard,
Yeah.
Ferguson, when I saw you out in Detroit playing all that, that's cool. But you see cats, drummers don't think, like they don't think this shit can swing when it's slow and shit. They think that shit is easy to do. You dig? And you know what? I couldn't say.
You was even ready to kill him, man.
I really, but you know what? You know what it taught me? He just taught me when that happened, I got in other words, the independence that he wanted. He say, well, when you play that way, he says, get the whole scope. He says all drummers will be attached to a group that he'll shine or make him shine with something that's lively or something. But how many of them will? In fact, he says very few. There are very few musical arrangements that will even. He says, I think a drummer is the drummer. That's the time. If it's a regardless, if you're playing, he says you're swinging or jazz, it can go in anything. He says, I even can accept. He says a ballad. He says a ballad can swing. He says, I can't even. Sometimes you go and swing a bit. I play on the tempos have to be just just a ballad tempo. She says I like to double up. In other words, what like what you were saying before about that 2-beat thing of the Lunceford. That's how Monk. That's why he considered Lunceford, being so great rhythmically because of the 2-beat. Mm-hmm. And Monk would put that 2-beat even on a. In fact, he got that song do 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 these foolish things. Right. Now, if you listen to that, yeah, you heard it. It do din 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 do.
It's like a stride piano or something.
And long meter. Din din. Boom dun din din dun 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 dee dee. D D, and then he gets then after he gets do dee do dee dee dee. These foolish things remind me of you. And now in that second chorus, he goes and keeps the rhythm going with it, and doing all that and keeping chang 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 all that stuff is just showing you where his conception. So what he was doing is just showing me that, hey, this is where the real concentration comes with with the slow concept.
Well, what about like? Wouldn't you think your solos, the things I've heard on records, always seem like you always played real melodically.
And I got that basically. That was something that came from a monk. Basically, his
Working with him.
time working with him.
Because you could pull that off at a slow tempo.
Pull that. Yeah, playing. That's right. Alternating from the tom toms.
Yeah.
And right, you could pull that off of his, and that was one of the things that I was able to do freely with him, and almost I'm gonna tell you, with his conception, you were almost forced to think of your instrument being, in other words, being a melodic instrument. Mm-hmm. You had to think in order to play, as he would say, play something. And have it to make sense too. Mm-hmm. I mean, let it make it. So in order for it, if you're going to play something on the drums and he leave you out there by yourself, mm-hmm. and you have to keep that beat going, mm-hmm. so it doesn't take the concept of the tune away, so he can come back in. Mm-hmm. You've got to play melodically. Yeah, like it's got to be melodic. It's got to have a melodic approach. And this was one of the, I think, of the starts of me, getting into to melodic playing.
More so, by the time you left the band, you were playing a lot more like that than when you came into the band.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. When I look, that was a challenge. Mm-hmm. That was a challenge, and I'm going to tell you that it was one of the greatest, really, playing with Monk. That was the greatest challenge of my melodic playing, but of my power. I'll say that Maynard and Hampton, Lionel Hampton.
Those are the two. Yeah.
Those were two for the well. I'm going to tell you, for stamina, I'll put it for power, Maynard, because he had all those fast tunes. Mm-hmm. By Willie Maiden and Don Sebastian, Slide Hampton playing all, but for stamina and also power.
20 minutes of Hamp's
Holy
Boogie, right?
Christ! do Hamp's Boogie Woogie and Flyin Home. All you need to do is those two. Mm-hmm. You do those two. Do Hamp's Boogie Woogie, and when it comes to stamina, just let him stomp off Flyin Home, and that song is going to be going for 30 minutes. And this is one of the things I'm going to tell you to start. Of course, it was, look, if I didn't have the physical, in other words, if my body wasn't in physical tact, mm-hmm. In 100%, physically, if I wasn't 100% in shape, I'd be biting the dust right now. I stayed with Hampton for like 7 years.
7 years? Wow.
I was with him for 7 years, and I would be biting the dust. And he has, look, there's been quite a few now who the man has taken off the earth. Wilbur Hogan for one. That yeah. Well, that's late. Well, one of the later ones, but even way before that. Dinah Washington's first husband, George Jenkins. Mm-hmm. Look, these guys worked themselves in. Hampton worked them and killed them.
Really?
Well, sure. He worked them to death. Poor Wilbur Hogan. Wilbur Hogan, who was a very good drummer.
Yeah. But
he couldn't take it. And then there was, I can't think of the other, was at least 3 that he killed, and
I mean, they actually died working.
They actually. Believe me, he just drained them right down. I mean, in other words, I will say though, if they had have taken care, and I'm not saying that they were taking care, mm-hmm. Of their selves, physically,
yeah,
or to say eating and getting, the proper rest, because I went with him, and attitudes were different. See, for one thing, like I say, I drank very little. And I athletically inclined. I continued my sports, my handball, and my paddle ball, and my swimming, and weightlifting, and skating. I'd take my daughter. We'd go skating every time I'd come in town. We'd have Thursdays or Wednesdays off. I'd go skating, keep up my stamina because I was determined. See, I knew of these other disasters. I knew, and I said that it wasn't going to happen to me. Because I'd have guys come up and kid me, says, "Hey man," says like we do a TV show or whatever. It's like that time we did that here lately, that thing from Kennedy Center. I don't know whether you saw it or not, but on Channel 13. Well, it's a tape. It was that dedication that they had President Reagan gave to Hampton for his 50 years and show whatever. They had a dedication there at the White House, and they did a tape, and quite a few people were there, to dedicate Pearl Bailey and Charlie Pride, and he had
Charlie Pride. What the heck was
right? That's right. They had but he did. Hey, Charlie Pride never. You know what they cut? They cut Charlie Pride out of the tape. He didn't get on the tape, but they had. He was there. They had Charlie Pride, but he wasn't on. You see, they had to splice. See, the whole afternoon lasted about you would say 3.5 hours, including the afternoon ceremony out on on the lawn, and then that night at Kennedy Center. But then they spliced it up to there's a lot of people. They had, Dave Brubeck in Illinois, Jaquette, and Clark Terry and Ron Carter was there, and then they had they had Betty Bebop Carter. Who's the girl from the Wiz that was Stephanie Mills? Yeah, she was there. That Freddie Hubbard. Freddie Hubbard was there. God. Oh boy, they had Milt Hinton. They had it was a big thing there, and they taped it, and it was a very good tape. Came out, but I was just saying that that particular arrangement of Flyin Home that he did, although I'm pretty sure they cut a little bit of that out too. Of course, the tape could only last for an hour, but my goodness, even with them cutting part of that tape out, I had people come up and say, "Hey Frank, I saw you on Channel 3, man," says, "How in the my God, man, you Flyin Home?" Says, "Look, what it looked like he was gonna ever end that tune." It says, "We could see even with the license." Says, "Man, that perspiration is popping off of you." Yeah. They're setting up, man. They could see right through the lights that you. And I'm saying, hey, look, that's what I deal with, practically every night, But I said all that to say that, if I didn't
stay in shape.
If I didn't stay in shape, if I had a different, if I was out, not getting my rest, and, out driving around and, sticking the needle in the arm or whatever, or juicing or, I could, and not only me, no one can hold that particular seat down. Not with a band like him, Yeah. You see, because you're a workhorse, and he's going to do that's a set amount of tunes. Those 7 tunes you can look for. You can look for the Sweet Georgia Brown, Basin Street. You're gonna look for Flyin Home, Hamp's Boogie Woogie, In the Mood. In other words, that's at least 5 that you're going to do, regardless of come rain or come shine, whether you're playing in a coliseum, whether it's indoors, outdoors, you're playing in the cellar or in the attic, you're going to do at least those 5 every night, and all of those are the backbreakers. See, because they continue, it keeps
That's incredible.
Yeah, it goes on and on. Oh yeah. But
It's one other thing I wanted to. What the heck did I want to ask you? Oh yeah, I know what I wanted to ask you. Why, when you did the Columbia albums with Monk, I noticed like on the Riverside ones, everybody gets the chance to stretch out, and your playing was a lot different on the Columbia albums. It almost sounded like in some things like you were holding back a little bit. And then they never gave like drum solos on the records or anything, but like 2 hours of Thelonious, everybody got a chance to.
Yeah, well, I think that's because of the size of the group. That's what it really was. I mean to answer you, to make it brief, the answer brief. Hal Overton, it's part of his reason too, because he arranged on all those Columbia albums. Even
they were great.
Yeah. He arranged them, and I'm going to tell you. Actually, Hal Overton, he didn't have in his arrangements that all the guys were playing, because we did all of the popular tunes that Monk has been recording over and over. As you know, Monk is he stayed Monk. He would be recorded with small band until it caught on. I have to give him credit. He knew what to do, man. He knew that he was pan musically, that he was a controversial figure for his style and his personality, and what he did, he just recorded over. He recorded a small band trio. It would be the same song, 4-in-1, or Twinkle Twinkle, or Coming on the Hudson, or whatever. He would just keep on recording it over. That song, Straight with No Chaser. He's recorded that thing about 20 times, but until it caught on. So what did he do for it to catch on? He recorded in every musical style and with every kind of aggregation he could present it in. Small band, trio, big band. He did it solo one time, just himself.
Right.
Do 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 do. He did it over and over, but. What actually happened there with me not stretching out, had to do. I'm pretty sure it had to do with Hal Overton, because Hal Overton he arranged both big band concert albums that the Monk had. The first one I didn't do. Art Taylor did that one. Mm-hmm. That first one, I think it was Monk at the Town Hall.
Right.
Now, Hal Overton was also the musical director. He was the musical director on that one. He was the one on the date at Lincoln Center. Right. That's the one that I did. Now, the only difference in the musicians, Charlie Rouse was on the other one, but actually, it was a complete change, almost 100%.
With the big band?
With the two bands that did both albums. In other words, Hal Overton, who was the musical director and the arranger on the one from Town Hall, and he also, that's why Monk got him to do the second one, because that was such a huge success.
Okay.
But I'm saying is that Hal Overton never had any in his arrangements. Never had any parts out there for the drum.
But what I was talking about was even with the quartet. Okay, on the 2 hours with Thelonious, it's like there's always a bass solo, and usually,
right.
A lot of good drum solos on that record. But the Columbia ones, the same tunes, it seemed like tempos were slower.
Right.
And with the quartet, again, it almost seemed like,
you know what? Well, you know what that had to do with Scott? That was really that was the time. I'm gonna tell you why. Because we did all of. See, there was a time element involved.
Had to do them fast.
You see, well, what it was, the reason is because now, as you say, the tempos were slower. You see, the quartet started the concert.
Right.
On that second album.
Which album we talking about now?
We're talking not the 2 hours. What you were saying was that the that everyone had a chance to stretch out with the quartet on the 2 hours with Monk, but on the Columbia,
like Monk's Dream, Crisscross, those albums.
Monk's Dream. Well, well, no, you're talking. Well, then you know what? Oh, then I know what you're speaking about. See, I was thinking in terms of the
big bands.
No, there was a quartet segment that we did the night that we played in Lincoln Center.
Okay.
The quartet opened up. Then we did.
Okay.
I Mean You.
All right.
And
all right.
I forget what he called that. Well, we did that, and we did that. I know I Mean You, and we did so. But what I'm saying is that the Hal Overton segment, which involved the big band arrangements, that came later. We didn't open up with the big band and then go into the quartet. We opened up with the quartet, then went in. So, but you're not speaking about that. You're speaking about the Monk's Dream,
the quartet albums,
the Crisscross.
Right.
We did 3 of those albums.
What was the other one now?
We did Crisscross,
Monk's Dream,
and let's see, what was it? And also the one up in Newport.
Right.
You know what I mean? That they had Pee Wee Russell was on. Remember?
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, the one.
There was another one. I can picture the cover. I don't know if it was you or Ben Riley. I'm trying to think. It was a red cover. I think Turkey something was on that, and Break. Shit.
Wait a minute.
It was a red cover with like a profile of Monk's head. On the cover, Columbia.
It was on Columbia?
Yeah, I can't remember which band was on that. Turkey Boil Shuffle was on it.
Yeah. Green Chimneys, was it?
I don't know. There was a song with the word break, B-R-A-K-E, in it too. Break.
Oh, no, I think that's the one that Ben Riley.
Was Ben on that one?
I'm pretty sure. No, I didn't do that one. I did about. It was about. Well, at least 5, I think I did with him.
But this was my impression. What I did was I took that Riverside record, the live one, the 2 hours of Monk, and I would play, like, say, Rhythming.
Yeah, Rhythming.
Okay,
yeah.
then I would go to whichever one it was on, Crisscross or Monk's Dream, and I'd play the tune back to back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I noticed 2 things. One, it seemed like definitely the tempos were slower. It seemed like you were catching more of the figures on the melody line on the studio albums. Which may have been because you've been with the band longer.
You're right.
Okay.
I dig what you're saying.
And then I also, but just for the first time when comparing them, it seemed like maybe the producer said, "Hey, hold back, don't get too excited." All right. And plus, like that.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
And that was Teo Macero, I guess.
Yeah, it was Teo Macero. Well, I'm going to tell you. No, he never. That's one thing that I can say, which was another factor that caused me to be more relaxed. I never, had that problem, to worry about, about Monk or Teo Macero,
mm-hmm.
who was the A&R man, that was one of the reasons why I think I played more relaxed, because Monk would always say, man, relax. If it's something you feel like doing, do it. Create,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Plus the fact, to answer your question, I had been with the band longer. I knew Monk's concept, his concept, and basically knew the tempos. I felt more relaxed with Charlie.
Right.
I knew how Charlie Rouse, his little foot. I watched his little foot, knew how to play in back of him and to make it swing. So all that goes in with me simmering in more.
Right.
That's why, like to answer your question about me catching the figures. Oh, a couple of those things were really hard hard driving, swinging things, like especially on that crisscross.
Yeah.
I heard that thing over. Oh, diddle diddle, you know, and then you go diddle 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 diddle.
That's weird figures.
Oh my God! That you know what? I'm gonna tell you. Look, every time I put that record on, crisscross especially, you know, and Bright Mississippi, that too, with that Sweet Georgia, he did that Bright Mississippi on Sweet Georgia Brown, some of the changes, you know, dee dee dum, dee dee dum dum. You remember that? Dee dee dum.
Yeah.
Dee dee da da. Dee da da. You know, they're on Sweet Georgia. Dee da da.
Good stuff. Those albums are like
Da da.
classics.
Boom boom boom.
But you know what was weird? I always liked that music better with a small band than big band.
Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you. I have to agree with you. I don't look. Hey, I agree with you 100%. The only thing is that, you know, God rest his soul too, but he's no longer with us. But Hal Overton could do with. He could give. If there was anyone could give that small band effect with writing for 15 pieces, he could do it better than it. And Monk knew that. That's why Monk had him to do the second. He hired him for the first date for the big band, because I never really cared. I never really like, you know. I've always accepted Monk's music in a small band category because that was the first type of category I was introduced to when he first came out.
Seemed to me it could be looser too.
Yeah, looser. But you know, Hal Overton had that. He had that little something that no other writer had, just like Gil Evans had for Miles.
Yeah.
Miles would always get Gil Evans because Gil Evans, as you know, gave that, like when he wrote that Sketches of Spain and all those things in voicing, he gave Miles Davis the voicing that nobody else could do. And what would Miles do? Miles would always have Gil. It would always be Miles Davis under the direction of Gil Evans. Well, the same, you know, way that happened was the same way it was with Hal Overton and Monk. Anytime Monk got ready to do any big band, he knew that Hal Overton could give that small band, could voice those horns.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That it would have that small band loose effect.
I'll have to listen again because I heard that album years ago and I didn't like it.
Well, which one? Well, you
I heard the one with.
Well, you were the one at the town hall.
Was it called Blue Sphere? Kind of a bluish cover with a sort of a picture of Monk with a circle around him. Maybe it was a painting. I don't know if it was a photograph or not.
No, let me see. Well, I don't think that could have been Hall, but that wasn't the Hall. That wasn't the live Hall Overton. See,
it was a studio.
The studio. See, the two live Hall Overtons were
good.
They were collector's items, you know. Like
were they in Columbia?
Well, no. Well, see, the first one was in Columbia. See, that first album of Monk at Town Hall was on Riverside.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that was. It was the second one. The one that I did with him at Lincoln Center was Monk. Monk at Lincoln Center. It was called Monk and Quartet at Lincoln Center. See, those two were collector's items, you know.
What if they've been reissued? They were both on Riverside, you think? Both?
No. One was Riverside and one was Columbia. And they both received five stars, you know. Yeah. I'm not saying that just because you figure that there's a lot of albums that deserve, you know what I mean, if you're going to speak of 5 stars. I'm not saying this because but I mean, let's face it, that was the key to acceptance. I mean, during that era, you know, like if an album was reviewed and if it got 5 stars, heck, if your album could get 5 stars, it was beautiful. At least you knew that you know that it was accepted. You know that it was you know but I'm not saying that every album that didn't get 5 stars, you know, wasn't good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm just saying that those both of those albums received 5 stars. The Monk in Town Hall, and the Monk with Big Band in Lincoln Center, both of them. Yeah, they both received 5 stars. Yeah, the one. Well, I told you about the one with Sonny Rollins. That one, you know, got 5 stars there with Nelson.
Yeah.
With the late Oliver Nelson.
He was,
but getting back to what you were talking about, you know, that's the reason. You know, that's the reason that you know, like, well, Hal Overton, you know, you were speaking about, you know, being loose and with the quartet, and Hal Overton gave that, you know, he
with the bigness. See, I've never heard those two. You talking about that? I'll have to get a hold of them.
Right. You get you get those and listen at them, man. They Hal Overton really, you know, and see at that time they had the one at Town Hall had Donald Byrd and Pepper Adams.
Wow.
You know, and when Art Taylor played the drum, I'm pretty sure Art Taylor was on drums. Did a great job. It was really swinging. He did tunes like Little Rudy Tootie, and he did Friday the 13th, and
Monk's titles were always great.
Hey, those titles. Hey, but that one, that title that he gave, right? You know, he made the one. You right? That one, Bright Mississippi.
Yeah.
He just made that up right in the studio, right?
Really?
Or standing right next to Teo Macero. That's right. He's standing, and they did this thing, Sweet Georgia Brown. And so when he got up, Teo says, "Hey, Monk, what are you going to name it? What is?" Because the date was completed, and we did that as this. We had more time, and he did that, which was the swinginest one on the album.
Yeah.
So he says, well, Monk had names for all the rest of them, so he's walking around in the studio, and I'm packing up a drums. Teo says, "Hey, what are we gonna call this?" He said, "Oh, man, let's see." And, you know, during that time, you know, was when they had the big, you know, confusion, you know, down in Mississippi when they had, I think it was James Meredith was going to the university.
Yeah.
So he says, in fact, that was the big spread in the paper. You know, up here, James Meredith going into Ole Miss University, you know.
Right.
So he says, "Oh, I tell you, really, I don't know, do we call that?" Well, you know, it's so much, you know, not going out. It's the headlines. He says Mississippi. That seems to be the headlines, and really, governor, you know, Ross Barnett was the one who was keeping, well, you know, keep James out in the Ole Miss University. He says, "Oh, that governor down there, trying to keep, you don't want James Meredith to go to the university, man." So that's not really, you know, really positive thinking and shit. He says, "Yeah, that's not really too bright. He's not thinking too bright." I tell you, call that a Bright Mississippi.
That's how that time got its name.
That's how the title. Oh, that guy got his title. He said, "Call that one Bright Mississippi." He says, "I don't think the governor's Jimmy. That's not bright thinking for him to stop a man want to get an education down in Mississippi. That seems to be the headline." He says, "Title that tune. Call it Bright Mississippi." He says, "That's not too bright for the governor to think like that." He says, "Call it Bright Mississippi."
Unbelievable. Somebody should do a book on him.
Well, hey, look, I'm gonna tell you. You speaking about a book? I got enough information on this cat to do a book. You can believe that. A lot of people. You got enough information on